Hey guys, I had this great suggestion from Gav on doing a video about choosing bikes. Here's what he wrote, because this is really cool. He said, I've got a hardtail mountain bike, but I'm looking to go either gravel or road. Perhaps you could do a video on choosing bikes. So that's a good idea, like, because it can be really hard and really confusing when you're trying to figure out what sort of bike should I ride, like what sort of style of riding am I doing, and how do I know which is the best bike for me. And this can go right back to just like maybe you're getting into cycling, or maybe you're getting into mountain biking, maybe you're wanting to get into gravel like Gav is, or you're not really sure what to do. So I've lined my bikes up here, you can see. So I've got Fuji, everybody knows Fuji, but that's my road bike, okay, with the drop bars. And then I've got my gravel bike with also, it's got the drop bars as well and the chunkier tires. And then here I've got the mountain bike that I pretty much don't ride anymore. I'll randomly ride it, but and it's a flat bar. So this is what's called a flat bar, because the bars are flat, they go across, whereas these ones are drop bars. Now I did have a flat bar road bike, which I wish I could put just here, but I sold it my Trek. And actually riding Trek was what got me right into cycling this time. I've always ridden bikes, but when I got Trek, it was just an amazing bike. And friends gave me Trek because my other bike had been stolen. They got e-bikes, and they said, hey, you can have our bike if you like, because we want it to go to a good home. And they gave me this Trek, this flat bar Trek, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It was the nicest bike. It was carbon, it was light, it rode so well. And from there I started exploring all the bike paths around Adelaide. I got so into cycling, so addicted to cycling because of that bike, because it was just such a pleasure to ride. So I would say if you're into just getting out there, riding the bike paths, maybe riding around your local community, but doing a bit of climbing. I did lots of climbing on Trek, but I think, you know, if you're wanting to do just a bit of little bit of climbing, maybe just mostly flats, cruising, you're not interested in going fast, you don't want to be a racer, you're not breaking any records or anything like that, then a flat bar road bike like Trek, but it doesn't have to be, you know, this one obviously, but something like that is going to be perfect for you. I went then to Fuji, this drop bar road bike, because I wanted to do something. I love climbing, and this is like perfect for this style bike. It's perfect for climbing. If you're into doing lots of road riding, climbing, going up hills and things like that, and going the distance, then something like Fuji is going to be perfect for you. You might not, you know, I wasn't sure how I would go with the drop bars initially, and it was a bit, yeah, I found it was, I'll show you, there's a video I did on that. That was a bit confusing at first and it was a bit odd, but now I love it. I love having the drop bars. If you're wanting to go faster, if you're wanting to go further, if you're wanting to do lots of climbing, that sort of thing, and do more with your cycling, then you know, get a drop bar. Some people get a drop bar and they just use it for cruising around bike paths and things, but I remember when I got my drop bar, and I thought, when I was going on the bike paths, I was like, oh, I can't, everyone's getting in my way, it's really frustrating, I want to go fast and I can't because there's people that, you know, and I remember thinking at the time, it's like, I think drop bars should be illegal on bike paths because you go fast on them. They make you go, if you want to go fast, they make you go fast. And so having a drop bar on bike paths is just sort of a waste of a drop bar. If you're going to just cruise around and potter around on bike paths, just get a flat bar, which is yeah, like Trek there, to go fast, go out on the road, do lots of climbing, go the distance. Then yeah, definitely if you're riding on the road, then definitely get something, a drop bar road bike. And so I also do a lot of riding on the gravel, so I go off-road, not full on, you know, mountain biking stuff, it's compact gravel, but I'll do that, and I do that on Fuji. So if you are interested mostly in riding on the road, but you're wanting to do a little bit of off-roading as well on the gravel, on compact gravel, then you could be fine just on a road bike like this. If mostly what you're doing, if 80% of what you're doing is going to be on road with a little bit of the gravel, then just have a road bike like this. If you're wanting to do more off-roading, so ride more gravel, more adventures, but not the hardcore mountain biking style adventures, but just doing more off-roading and being able to just like go, oh, I'm on the road now, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go do, you know, 10k on the gravel, then I'm going to come back on the road, or just all gravel, and you're interested in doing more of the off-road than you are on-road, then I highly recommend the gravel bike. I love this because it's got the drop bars. I love the drop bars. I just love this style of bike. It feels really good. It's light. It's got the chunky tires. It feels really good. So a lot of the things that I ride, I can ride on Fuji, but then when I've ridden them on the gravel bike, it just makes that so much easier, and then I can spend more time on the gravel. But for me, I ride everywhere. So if I'm going to be doing some gravel riding, I will ride to the gravel. So I'm wanting something that I can ride on the tarmac and on the gravel. I'm not going to be only riding on gravel. So for me, this is actually worked. I was a bit hesitant to try the gravel bike initially because I thought it was going to be really chunky on the road, and that it was going to be hard to ride. It was going to slow me down. I was going to get frustrated, but actually it didn't happen like that. It was actually okay to ride on the road. I was quite surprised, actually. I was very, very surprised by that. So the gravel bike is great if you're going to be doing some on-road and some off-road, but you're going to be spending more of that time off-road. Again, it's not for hardcore mountain biking because there's no suspension on it. So it's still, so there's no suspension here. So it's going to be really, really jiggity and not, I wouldn't recommend it for doing full-on mountain biking. So in answer to Gav's question, it's like, should he get a road bike or a gravel bike? It's like, if you're going to be riding predominantly on road, like if you're going to be riding mostly on road with a little bit of gravel, you can do that on your road bike because the road bikes will go on the compact gravel. But if you're going to be riding a lot of gravel and you want to spend more of your time on the gravel, then you might as well get a gravel bike. You might as well do that because it's still comfortable on the road, but it's going to be more comfortable on the gravel. And then a mountain bike, and so this, for those who don't know, this is a hardtail. So hardtail means that it's got the suspension at the front. This is the front suspension, but there's no suspension at the back. And when there's suspension at the front and the back, it's called a dual suspension or a dually, but this is a hardtail because it only has the front suspension. And as you can see here, there's no suspension on the gravel bike, and obviously no suspension on the road bike, so it just makes it the more jarring. And yeah, whereas when you've got the suspension, it makes it a bit softer and easier to ride over all those bumpy rocks and some really gnarly stuff. I've ridden a dual suspension, and they're really comfortable, they're really bouncy, but I wouldn't ride a dual suspension for 100 kilometers with 80% of that being road riding, because that would just do my head in. And even if you're going to be just riding on the around the bike paths and just local in your area, I still wouldn't get a mountain bike because it's got the chunky tires and it's going to make riding that a little bit harder for you if you're just going to, so you're better off with a flat bar road bike. So mountain biking, these ones here are for if you're actually going to be going off-road, and it does make it way more fun. And I'm just going to come under here out of the sun. It makes it so much easier to ride when you're riding a mountain bike with the suspension or the dual suspension, especially if you're doing the downhill mountain biking and all of that. That's a whole other world that I know a little bit about, but I'm not really into that. So although it looks really cool when I see people doing it. So yeah, so my advice and my tips to you, if you're going to be going mostly on bike paths, commuting to and from work, just stuff around your local environment, get a flat bar road bike. If you're going to be doing a lot of road riding, you want to do climbing, you want to get fast, you want to spend more time on the bike, get a drop bar road bike or a flat bar, but the drop bars are really, really cool. I highly recommend them. Once you get used to them, it's like, oh, I love this. That's my personal opinion. If you're wanting to go off-road and do a bit of gravel riding, but you're, so I mean, I've got two bikes, so it's good for me. If you're going to be spending majority of your time doing the off-road on the gravel, then I'd get a gravel bike, but you can do a lot of the gravel riding on your road bike. So just sort of think about, like, do you want to be doing, if you're going to have just one bike, do you want to be doing riding on the road for half that amount of time on a gravel bike, or yeah, what are you happy doing? And the other thing that people talk about is having just one bike and then just switching the wheels over, and you can do that. I've been having lots of conversations with people about that to decide whether or not I would be interested in doing that. So do I want to have just one bike and just switch the wheels over? Some people swear by it and say that's the best thing to do, just have one bike, switch the wheels over, and then, but I'm not convinced on that, because I've heard other people say, well, what's the point? You might as well you can have two bikes, just have two bikes, and you have one for road, one for off-road, and you can just switch between them. If one breaks down, at least you've got another bike while the other one's getting fixed. And so that's sort of more the camp that I'm in, is that I prefer to have the 2 bikes so that I can make those choices depending on what kind of riding that I'm doing. And so for Gav, I'd say to you, like, if you're not really sure about what bike to get, whether you should get a, you've got a mountain bike and you're going to get either a road or a gravel, you've already got the mountain bike. So, it depends on what other riding you want to do. If you want to do predominantly road riding, I'd say get a road bike. If you want to do half and half, where you're doing some road, but then also, gravel as well, then I'd get a gravel bike. So I hope that helps. And just remember that you can still ride your road bike on the compact gravel quite easily. It's actually, it's not hard, and your bike will handle it. I've had one puncture in the 2 years that I've been riding off, taking my road bike on the gravel. I've had one puncture on the gravel. So don't sort of think, and I hear this a lot actually, people think, oh, I can't take the road bike on off-road because I'm going to get a puncture. I guess it probably depends what sort of tyres and things you've got, but most people that I know have the good quality tyres and the thicker tyres. But yeah, I've had one puncture on the gravel, so don't think that just because you take it. Your bikes are pretty hardy actually. I was quite surprised. I used to be so worried about my road bike, thinking it was fragile, but they're quite hardy. They can actually endure a lot. So yeah, if you're going to be going off-road a little bit, just have a road bike and just learn how to take that off onto the compact gravel, that's all. If you want to do a little bit more adventurous stuff, you wanted to go a bit more on the gravel, sometimes like just go off the beaten path and go, oh yeah, and you could only do that if you had a chunkier tyres, then get a gravel bike. If you're wanting to do mountain biking, and be always doing that, get a mountain bike. And if you're just wanting to potter around on the tarmac, on the bike paths, maybe just commuting to and from work, and you're not interested in racing or doing lots of climbing and that sort of thing, then get a flat bar. If you're only going to be on if you're only going to be on the bike paths, if you're only going to ride on bike paths, like, or 90% of what you do is on bike paths, then get a flat bar road bike. Don't get a drop bar, more racing style bike, because you'll want to go fast on the bike paths and it'll just stress you out because people will get in your way, everyone will annoy you, they'll get annoyed at you, you'll get annoyed at them, and there's just no point. So yeah, if that's going to be predominantly what you do, you don't need a drop bar. Just get a flat bar road bike and you'll have so much fun on it. Yeah, I loved my flat bar, but yeah, I definitely preferred the drop bars now because I just love the style of riding, the shape, the positioning and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. Let me know any questions, any other videos. I've got a couple of other video suggestions that I'll do some videos on those in the coming days as well. So, but yeah, put in the comments if there's any other questions or you want me to elaborate on anything else. Remember to subscribe, join my club, watch my other videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh, and the other thing before I go is remember that you can get bikes pretty cheap. You don't need to spend lots and lots of money on your bike. So mine have been, Fuji was $500, my gravel bike was $1,200, and the Mongoose I think might have been like, I don't know, $200 or something. I can't remember, that was a while ago. So yeah, just remember, jump on Facebook Marketplace, or here in Australia we've got Gumtree, in New Zealand you've got Trade Me, don't know what you've got over in the US, the UK, and other places, but just jump on there and have a look, because there's always bikes out there for sale at good prices, where people have got something and then they've changed their mind, or it's just sat in the garage for a couple of years and they're like, okay, I'm just going to move that on. There's heaps of bikes out there. So yeah, you don't have to spend lots of money on a good bike. You can pick up a really good bike at a really good price. So remember that. Okay, bye.